G'day friends, welcome to today's video. It is a continuation from yesterday's, the deluxe colouring cards. The sample we did, I just threw it off the screen. That's great. Today I'm going to be doing the hot press paper type, and I'm going to be talking a bit about the paper and what I like to use with it and what I think it's good for and why it became an option for the paper types. And hopefully I'm going to talk a bit more about the coloring cards and maybe answer some of the questions that I didn't get to answering the first video. So let me just start by saying I'm taping these down because in any instance where you're going to add a lot of wet media, taping something down to a flat surface really helps to keep the paper in its original form, like its integrity intact, if you know what I mean. So if you're not going to tape it down, the hot press watercolor paper will warp quicker than the cold press will, just because it's thinner. It is a 200 GSM, the cold press is a 300, so the cold press is probably more what you're used to, that really thick watercolor cardstock. The 200 GSM, this Fabriano hot press, it's more like a greeting card type thickness, if that makes sense. Today I'm using lots of dye inks. I've got the Dilutions sprays, and I've got the distress stains as well. I've also used some of the shimmer, but I don't think I showed that in the little pre-show I just did. I've just got some blues because I'm being very groundbreaking. It's underwater scene, so I'm obviously doing blue. But what I wanted to explain about this one and why I've decided to colour in this version today is that you can see that the heads there are very obvious. You can see the body is a very light grayscale. Now that is on purpose. I didn't have a printing error. I've chosen that because if you remember way back last year, we did the brushstroke mermaid tutorial, and I explained it by breaking it up into triangles, and that's what these are. These are the triangles that I use specifically when I'm doing brushstroke mermaids. These are the ones that I have drawn out for myself before. I have redrawn them and digitized them. Yesterday when I said that all of the illustrations were done specifically for the sheets, it's not that any of them are particularly new, because some of them have been based off of older works. In fact, all of them have been based off of something that I've already done. The illustrations have been done again. So I didn't just scan it from my art journal or from a little sketch and put it into Photoshop and take the color out. I have redrawn them specifically for the coloring pages so that I would know what I wanted to keep in there, what I wanted to change about them, some things I've taken out, some things I've added, and just tweaked them a little bit and just, redone some things. So that's enough of that. I guess my point was I didn't really make anything new, as in like illustrations you've never seen before, but I did rework them in a way that was different to how you have seen them, if that makes sense at all. Anyway, so I've just been going in with the what are they called? The inks. The thing about these inks is that they're water reactive, so you can do a lot of fun water textures with them, pooling, especially for these underwater scenes. I think that really comes in handy because you can get a lot of this water texture for your underwater scene, so it's just super easy. You can cut out a lot of steps just by drenching the paper with water. But like I said, you probably want to tape it down to avoid a lot of that warping, especially when you get your heat gun involved as well. A lot of heat will warp your paper just as much as water will. If you've ever had your paper out and you've just taken your heat tool with it, to it, you'll see it start to curl. Any kind of extreme shifts in, the temperament. What do I want to say? In the structure of the paper, those fibers are going to react to that. So if it's a lot of water, if it's a lot of heat, that's when the warping and the buckling starts to happen. Now sometimes we love to do that, and we love that with our Tomoe River paper. I know that a lot of us really love the crinkled texture of that. That's something that Ali Brown got me onto. But for our finished watercolor pieces, maybe that you want to frame, or maybe that you want to stick into a journal and have them lay flat, I guess over time the journal might flatten them out a bit, but I just think it's safer to tape it down. Now I've got this Scotch blue tape. It is a painter's tape, so it is specifically designed to really get that. It's called edge lock, so it really does give you a nice crisp line, provided you have pushed it all the way down. I found that if you don't really push it into the paper, that some stuff can still leak under there, but that's why God invented the Uniball Signo. So I just I think most problems are fixable. What else do I have to say? I'm doing the brush strokes. The triangles are still there because this is basically like the template from my brushstroke mermaids that I draw. So if you've ever been curious to use one of an illustration that I've already drawn, because I think a lot of the time when we're learning off of someone and we're really trying to pick up the techniques, or we're really trying to pick up the look, it's a lot of proportion, and it's a lot of I think it's just a lot about proportion, and sometimes it's really hard to grasp something until you've got something to actually work with. Like, when you're kids and you're practicing your letter writing, you're practicing writing the alphabet, especially when you're doing cursive. Even now, as adults, learning brush lettering, we've got all those sheets, and they've got, in a grayscale, they've got the A that flows into the B, that flows into the C. Well, this is kind of the same thing, but for illustration. So I've given you the template, I've given you the rough outline that I would use to put all the brush strokes in there. Now, I probably should have done this with one of those dry brush techniques, because the gold watercolor was just a bit meh. I love how it looked in the end. I think adding lots of details with the pens and stuff, I think it made it this very I don't know, they almost look like jewelry to me. They almost look like Egyptian kind of, I don't know, like slinky little jewels. Does that make any sense at all, or am I just on a planet today? But yeah, so this is one of the options I wanted to show you. There is another one. So I've got the brushstroke mermaid that's kind of half, well, not half, it's more, 7/8 of this is in grayscale as a template for you, and you've got the heads. But there's another one, which is the face, and I've got the twigs coming out of the head. Now, in the original illustration that I did a couple of years ago now, that had leaves all over it. And I wanted to leave the leaves off. I wanted to leave them off because I thought it would be really fun for you to add your own with your brush strokes. You could change the size of them, you could add flowers on top of it, whatever you wanted to do, just playing with your mediums. A lot of these coloring pages I had watercolor in mind specifically, because I think that's one of the things that we love to play around with, and has some beautiful qualities like pooling and the blooms and blossoms and stuff. And I think you can really cover a space, and there's a transparency to it so that you can also see what you're working with underneath. I had watercolor in mind. The hot press paper though can take pencil really well, and a really smooth layer of pencil. It's also great for markers, alcohol markers. Obviously it will bleed through because other than the render no show through, I don't know what else doesn't bleed through with alcohol markers, but the markers are great for this because it's not super thick that it's going to absorb all the ink like the cold press does. I still use them on the cold press, just don't tell anyone. But the hot press is a really smooth surface as well, so you get really smooth gradients and blends. So I think that this hot press is kind of like the all-purpose paper. The cold press is a bit more for your texture and a bit more for your heavy-handed kind of work, and the craft is a complete separation from both of those. It's just a more fun experiment with pastel pencils, and maybe some of the items you don't get to use a lot, like your jelly roll pens and stuff like that. But we'll talk about craft in tomorrow's video. Today I just wanted to show you these little Egyptian mermaid jewels, and thank you for watching. I will show you my gross chubby hands. I'm going to show you some close-ups as well. If you have any more questions, hopefully I'll answer them with the final video tomorrow. One thing I should say, they're all going up in Etsy next week. I will have my restock next week, so be looking out for that. No date as yet, but you'll know as soon as I know. And, I'm going to remember to say this as well. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. I would really love that. Only if you liked it though. If you didn't like it, don't worry about it. There is a thumbs down option. You can press that. Honestly, nothing's going to change, but if you feel the need to be included, there is that option for you. There is a subscribe button as well. If you're feeling called to do that, if you feel it on your heart to subscribe to my channel, I'm in full support. Also, if you really want to get a heads up on when my videos go live, you can click the notification bell. I will come out of the bell tower like Quasimodo and let you know. I will let a girl know when a video goes live. Well, I won't, YouTube will do it, but either way you'll get told. So you can get on that. We've done the cold press, we've done the hot press. Tomorrow I'll come back and do the craft to round out the paper journey that we've been on. Hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to stop talking now and move on to some other work. Okay, bye.